because we have to get Mike Mucci on because he's got to go to another meeting. So I'm fine starting the meeting if everybody is ready. It looks like we have at least 3 of the board members here. So I'd like to call the meeting of the Town of Adams Parks Commission to order for Monday, March 8th, 2021, 6 o'clock via Zoom. Some are via Zoom, some are in person. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, subsection 18, and the governor's March 15th and July 2nd, 2020 orders imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in place. This meeting of the Town of Adams Parks Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort has been made in order to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Attending remotely are members Cindy Bird, Jake Schutz, with members Jim Fassel and Paul Nowicki attending from the town in the town hall. We have posted today's agenda in accordance with open meeting law, which included the call-in information for the meeting. Despite our best efforts, if we are not able to provide for real-time access for the public to participate in today's meeting, a recording of this meeting can be made available by request, as this meeting is being recorded using the Zoom platform. As we are participating remotely, please note that all votes taken during this meeting will be made by a roll call vote. I will state the member's name and ask for their vote for each vote necessary today. I'd also like to add that Jack Garino is present from the iBerkshires. Lou Mosier is present representing Adams ACS softball. Mike Mucci is here representing the Football League. Robert Tober is here from the DPW. Our new DPW secretary, Michelle DeRose, is there at the town hall. Is there anybody else I'm missing? I feel like there's another person at the town hall.
Oh, Steve Scrocky.
Oh, Steve Scrocky. Steve Scrocky's there. Okay, and he's the DPW director.
No.
So moving on to approval of last month's minutes. Are there any? I just have some typographical things, but that's, we can, I can email Michelle about that after. And does, is there a motion to accept last month's minutes?
I'll second it.
Who approved it? Paul?
Oh, yes.
Paul made the motion and Mr. Fassel approved, seconded?
Yes.
Any discussion? The only discussion I had was in the new business, it talks that the Hoosick Valley softball will not be able to play there at all. I didn't know that we had that as a hard, fast no. I thought that we were going to work on trying to get a game in there. So as long as we're with the understanding that we're going to try to do something like that, depending on the seating, depending on everything else, that it's not just a hard, fast no.
Try to do that, didn't President? Cindy, I think it does say that we're going to try to have was it senior day? I believe it's in the minutes that we're going to try to hold the senior day at.
You're right, Robert. You're right. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so then there's no discussion.
I can't hear you with your back.
Then I don't have any discussion. So if we want to vote, I say yes. Paul?
Yes. I don't know what we're voting on. The minutes? The minutes, yeah. I'll vote yes.
Then
I don't know.
Jim Fassel, that Paul?
Yes. Minutes of last meeting.
Yes, for me, Cindy. This is Jake.
And Hi, Jake.
Jake should see us. She can't see us.
Jake, are you abstaining because you weren't here last month?
He was here.
I was here.
Oh, you were?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. I
I
didn't
guess
say
I don't
much.
know where I was. It doesn't
You were-
look like
you were-
you're. Oh, yeah, you were. Never mind. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna turn my camera off. Okay, so all the minutes have been approved. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move to new business. Mike Mucci is here, President of the Youth Football League, to discuss the use of Russell Field for youth football and general discussion on this topic to continue. So Mike was invited. I don't know that, I don't know if we're beginning the discussion or if Mike's gonna begin or.
I think for the sake of time, we just wanted to present to you that we came up with a potential solution. We wanted to have an area for youth football to practice in that was off to the side by the tennis courts. There's 2 areas there that are off from the softball field. The only thing is that we need to get lights turned in that direction so they could use the lights there, because originally we wanted them off the softball field because we felt that it destroyed the grass, but I think if there's any way that we can locate them in those 2 sections, then we might be able to, have a solution here.
Yeah, even if we move them around now every other week or so.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't have enough open space, and I can understand your difficulty. But we can work around this and see what we can come up with. All right?
Sure. And, Mike Mucci here. I know most of the people on this call. I appreciate you having me on and continuing a conversation you started. Typically, I wouldn't be in front of everyone in March talking about youth football, but, it's come up with the field renovations. And I do appreciate this coming to the front of the meeting. I need to chair the school committee meeting at 6:30 this evening. So I do have about 10 or 15 minutes. I won't take more of your time than I need to, but I did want to just be clear that there are not many options for youth football. Youth football needs lights, needs a decent size area. The Russell Field has been a great, asset to us in the town to play multiple sports on. I would like to, we can certainly work through some of the particulars of where on the field we can be, but when you say not on the softball field, I'm hoping you're not also talking about the outfield because that does not give us much room at all. Typically, for those not familiar with us and how we practice, we typically have both the junior and senior squad practice at the same time in the outfield. There's very little overlap with the dirt or the infield, but we are certainly in the outfield and need most of that grass space to get both teams to practice at the same time, because we typically practice 3 nights a week. We need to give the kids a night off, and we have games obviously on the weekends at Renfrew. But not going and staying off of even the outfield would cause some real problems. But certainly open to working with softball as we have in the past to kind of share time and start and stop time. And if we can move from one end of the field to another and rotate where we practice on a weekly basis, we're willing to try and work through some of those details.
Do you have a dimension for us on what you need for space, Mike? Because we can go and measure it and see, we can see how it fits on it.
To be honest with you, I'd prefer to kind of walk it when the snow melts, and I can certainly give you dimensions at that time. I went by this weekend, everything's still covered with about 1 foot of snow. I can tell you what we used in the past and what's worked for us. And I can either do that with somebody, or I can even, again, go down there in a few weeks and or sooner, measure it up and tell you what we request.
I can even fill it in off the GIS, the scale, give an exact approximation in those areas.
Point of order, in order to talk so we can be heard, you're far enough away from people maybe pull down your masks and then we can hear what you're saying. You can move away from Michelle if that's a cause a problem. But do that.
All right.
I can hear him okay.
I can't. Okay.
No, I was just saying that,
Oh, is that who you are? Okay.
using the GIS, I can draw to scale, you know, some dimensions there, so we can have a better idea too, before the snow melts, just to give us some rough ideas. But I think Mike's suggestion is the best, to walk it after the snow melts, so we can get an exact feel for whether or not it will be good enough for the practice.
Mike, what they have proposed to do while you're not here is they're going to put down a 110-foot fence around the infield and then give that area sacrosanct to the softball field. Then outside of that 10-foot fence, dedicate that to wherever you can fit your football practice in. That the issue is how far out does the 110 go? It'll be very much like the situation in Valley Street, where the Little League is cordoned off and nobody goes in except for the Little League. Then outside of that, other activities are held. I mean, I don't have the votes. When you leave, they're going to vote to give softball that field and not give you it. So that's my compromise to it.
Jim or whoever else is aware, this is the first I've heard of talking about putting in a permanent fence. In the past, it's been a removable fence.
That was just yours, that's what we're just talking about.
That's
all,
what,
it's not,
I mean, you know,
It's not a final answer.
I'm here and I would hope we could share. But I only have one vote, and that's me. And when you leave, they're gonna bow to the softball people left and right. I'm afraid the other votes.
we're gonna work together.
Yeah, no, we're gonna work this out. So.
I'm not going either.
I'm glad you came, Mike. You move mountains.
Well, we certainly want to work with the other sports programs. I'm glad that the town of Adams has invested in this field. You know, we don't have many options for lights. It's a big area. Again, if you do put a permanent fence in there, it's gonna be detrimental to the football. We take up a tremendous amount of that grass space.
And I agree totally, but up until now, I had one vote and everybody else was going towards a permanent fence. If that's changed with you here, then it's good. Don't leave until you get that promise from this group. Okay?
Mr. Fassel, I'm a little confused. I didn't know anything about a permanent fence.
As far as I know.
I mean,
So,
I know that the field itself got pushed out like 6 or 8 feet. So there's less of the outfield that Mike is thinking that they use. So that would create less space that way. If you're saying for them not to be on the softball infield. I did not know that there was going to be a permanent fence installed. I thought we were going to continue with the breakaway fence.
yeah, no, it's.
Well, plus they have to use the bathrooms too, so they have to go somewhere on the field. You know, if they have to use the bathroom.
My
Put a fence up,
understanding
they're
is
gonna get there.
that it is temporary. It is a
That
temporary.
is not something I am for. That is something that it was proposed to me as an individual of the meeting last time. And if I'm hallucinating, thank God. And and if everything's temporary, I think we can work it out.
Right.
Look, on that, I'll withdraw my hallucination and you guys can decide with Mike's a big guy, so I think he's got you right where he wants you.
Can I ask a question? Has the field been seeded yet?
Yes.
It's
Okay,
green.
great.
Everything's green.
But it's new,
Great. So,
but it's gonna have time to grow, that's the only problem.
It's-
That's why we wanna wait till the fall to use it if we can.
right, so the idea is to let it rest in the spring into the early summer and then start with the sports. You know,
Right.
football's kind of an August 1st sport. And you can start earlier probably with softball. But giving it the spring to take root. I think that's a great idea. I was unclear whether or not the field had been seeded yet.
Yeah, they have a few areas to finish, but majority is done,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Shut my mouth.
Cindy or anyone else, I can certainly answer any questions, but I'm glad I was invited to be here and, just wanted to kind of voice my concerns. And, we're open to sharing the field as much as possible.
What conclusions can we give Mike right now before he leaves? Could the group decide that? Because when he goes, you guys are gonna change your mind again.
Not changing it.
Good.
We don't have enough open space for practices.
Okay, Cindy, go ahead.
I'm kind of lost. I feel like I missed like a whole meeting somewhere. Sorry. I wasn't aware of all of this. So,
Good, so it never happened. So that's.
I don't recall anybody proposing a permanent fence. I don't recall. I just remember the last meeting that said we were going to invite Mike because of football and what would be happening, because the contractor said that the field was going to be seeded and they did not recommend anybody using it before the fall. And that of course falls into football season. If anything, I don't recall anything about that.
And we won't talk about that anymore. What can Mike expect? What can happen?
Well, I think I'll walk it with Mr. Tober and, we'll do that in a month's time. I think we're well ahead of where we typically are. And, if we're planning it out in March and April, I think that's great.
Very good.
And Mr. Fassler, just make sure they don't put up a permanent fence when I get off the line.
Thank you.
This is recorded. This is recorded, right?
It is. It's recorded.
I'm gonna go with a vote. Well, I want to vote here tonight.
There's no vote. There's nothing to vote for.
No, it's just discussion, it's over.
Yeah, and once after we walk, we typically don't submit papers for the field until, I don't know, a month or two before, but we'll probably do it a little earlier this year and we'll get everything in line. I know they're typically going hand in hand with COVID plans and, the COVID football plans will probably change 4 times between now and August, but we'll at least, I think the big thing, everyone knows our intent. Everybody knows what space we want. And we'll make sure we have our paperwork in place and we'll work with you guys through the details.
Thank you.
Cindy, anything further on this topic before I run? Or anyone else?
No, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. If we have any more discussion about it, we'll let you know.
I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for your time.
That's something. Make sure before we go, make sure we say if we change our mind, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
This is this discussion.
This is
Duly
just-
noted. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Bye, Mike.
Bye.
I mean, I wish we had another field with lights just for
Well,
practice.
there's one for sale, but we're never gonna buy it.
No.
But it doesn't have lights in it.
Where's that?
Mill Street Field is for
Off the
sale,
head.
but you wanna have one with lights.
Don't understand. Church owns it, right? The church owns that.
Church is gonna sell.
It is.
They're gonna sell it. They're gonna sell that lot,
Point of order.
and they're gonna sell the castle.
When did this start? When did they put that in?
They put it in 2 weeks ago.
Right. Oh, wow, that must be really early.
Oh, yeah.
Father John.
Can I bring back to order?
Hi, Cindy,
gonna
how are
Bring
you?
back to order. So, Mr. Fassel, I guess are we gonna put that issue to bed, the hallucination of the fence, or?
You can get rid of it if that's what you want. Steve?
No, I don't, I guess, it's not even in the minutes, is it?
I don't remember discussing that other than temporary fence. Yeah,
Good.
so,
Keep it
Okay.
clear.
When I passed around my sign-ins for being reelected, one of the people said, you've been in this job too long, Jim. I
that's
said,
nice.
I think I'm getting to agree with him.
Gee,
Not a problem.
that's not nice.
Okay, let's go on to something else then. We're all set.
Okay, oh, Jim, you're up. Announcement on potential donor for Russell Field lights and scoreboard.
I have a group of people that that want to donate money for the lights and for a scoreboard.
Nice.
Okay, and they say, well, write out a check. I'm not sure it'll be this big, but they want to support us for that. And he needed to know how much money it would cost. I'm very surprised at this bill we got. Robert, have you shown Cindy?
No, Cindy, we just received a quote on how much the LEDs would cost. I didn't have a chance to send it to you because we literally just got it here, moments before the meeting. But we can read you, we already know for a new scoreboard that we had a bid or a quote for $4,040, but we have received a bid for the LED lights, and that it came in at $65,100. I will send this out to each of the members. We have copies here, and it goes over the details, but that's the bottom line on those lights. So, but I'll give it back to you, Jim.
I want to know where we came up with, let's say we don't get this offer, which we will get an offer to help us out. Where were we gonna pay for the existing lights without the help from this group?
You mean right now, within the budget, you mean?
Yeah, was it within the budget?
Go ahead.
The work that is being done right now is covered. That's just replacing any of the existing lights that don't work. In fact, the contractor was out there today, running the wires, and they're going to be replacing any of the lights up there that don't work, the existing ones. So those are the old filament spotlights. That's already been covered, but those are not LED lights. This quote here is for LED. So there's a big difference in cost.
Good, good. I just, my breath was taken away from the price. But I will go to Dick Chetty is in charge of the group. He's the accountant.
Okay.
I'll go to him tomorrow, or we'll go together. You go to him about that price,
Yeah, I'll give them a call.
and maybe I can come up to the office with you.
Sure.
We can talk together. They do have an appreciable amount of money. So maybe we can still get it in.
This would work good. The only thing I should mention is, that this quote did not include those extra lights. We were talking with Mike, if they were to practice in those sections, we would have to redirect some lights so that that would light those areas where the youth football league would practice. So, that's not included in this quote, so, and, the work that they're doing right now for those lights, as far as I know, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of those lights are directed towards the area where we're talking
No.
about youth football, like practice, so
I don't think so.
that's something we'll have to work on.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tober, can you just tell me again, the scoreboard was like 4,400? And then what did you say, the LEDs? Is that like, so I guess, forgive me for my ignorance, but are the LEDs just actually the light bulbs that are going into the lights?
Yes, these are LED lights, they're different than the lights that are now.
And the whole fixture.
It's the whole fixture that they would be.
Oh,
And the LEDs are much brighter and they use like half the electricity that's being used.
okay. And how much are those gonna be?
Well, the quote here is for $65,000.
They got a 10-year one.
Was
Yeah.
that not part, what was part of the original, because I remember at one of the meetings, they said they wanted to change the order for 95,000 for the lights, but then,
That quote included other work too, like some of the wiring that ran through it, but this here is basically for the lights and the fixtures and the installation of that.
We may get that money from this group.
That would be great.
They've got deep pockets,
If this donor has the money to.
but it looks, it's a lot of money. So we'll talk to them tomorrow. And we've got time.
Don't forget,
Cindy, we have time to adjust if they come up with a counter offer or whatever. I just didn't know where let's say they'd pay 40,000, do we have enough money in our budget to pay the 25,000? I made that up, okay?
that's probably the labor.
That would be a question for our community development. I don't think so, so I can't commit or anything like that, but we would investigate that. But let's just move forward and see if the donor is able to cover this, because if they are, we have a good solution here. Not only to yield the softball field, but the youth football league and lighting there.
Say, Cindy, this is Jake. So the current lights will only cover the softball field. So if is that my understanding? And if we don't vote for these additional LED lights, then there won't be any light coverage where the football league practices. Is that correct?
You might
That's-
have to-
that's not how I understood it. I understood it to be that this is the LEDs, this 65,000 is just for the like replacement lights for the softball field, and this does not even include this new proposal of having the lights turned for the football people. Is that correct?
The way it looks, they're gonna probably have to use some of the softball field anyway. We won't know until we go out there and look at the field.
I guess I just don't understand that the LEDs was not part of the package. Was that the thing that Scott was talking about trying to do the green initiative? He was trying to get a grant from them for the lights?
Yeah, I think so. Didn't go through for the green initiative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
So the grant that we have covers everything, but now there's this additional $65,000 for the lights, and that doesn't include the scoreboard, which is a separate issue, right?
And so that 65,000, is that not additional lights? Is that just basically replacing the current filament lights with LED lights?
That was not part of the original package for the Russell Field work that they did. So this is all.
So that would so the answer would be no. So I'm a little confused here after listening. So the current proposal is to fix the existing lights.
If they use-
And this, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and now and why do we want to spend 65,000 to essentially take out filament bulbs and put in LED bulbs? Same amount, same quantity. That still does not cover the area that football needs.
The LED lights, we wouldn't need as many as the filament lights, and the electricity cost would be dramatically lower. So you can do more with the LED lights. They're brighter. You can also focus them better, so there's no residual light for the houses around the area.
Right,
And
but,
so-
but we're already paying to fix all the lights, and why are we paying to fix all the lights and then right afterwards spending 65,000 to replace the lights that we just paid to replace? Unless I'm getting this all wrong.
No, the LED lights are better lights than what's there now.
Well, So it sounds like we dropped the ball when we initially planned to pay someone to fix all the current lights instead of replacing them.
When we say the existing lights now, there are some that don't work. They're just gonna replace the ones that don't work. It's not a full replacement of all that's up there. That's the difference here. They're just replacing the ones that don't work with
Okay.
filament
They're
bulbs.
not guaranteed they're gonna work even when they try to fix them. No, this is like,
Does that make sense, or?
they're very.
Well, fiscally, I don't know if it does make sense. I mean, how much money is so the only benefit I see is it's going to save on some energy. And so how long is it going to take for us to get our $65,000 back?
Remember
So-
now, this donor came after this work was scheduled, so it's not really like anybody dropped the ball. The work that we're
Oh.
looking at right here came up because we had a potential donor.
Okay, now that makes sense. Now I understand. Thanks. Wait, was that Robert?
Yes,
Right.
last meeting, we didn't have a definitive donor, we didn't have the money. Since then, Jim has come up with a potential donor to cover this, so that's why there's that discrepancy.
All right, now I can see the logic. I would, I mean, so then essentially, could this donor, I mean, could we use that money towards lights that will go towards the football field versus the softball field? And then that way, I mean, so the lights for the softball field should be good to go after the initial work is done.
That would be a question for the donor, to see if they're willing, but yes, that would be a solution.
Okay. Now, Jim, is this donor, were they specific about, just hooking up the softball league, or were they just in general looking to enhance the, vitality of the field?
They want to help out sports in Adams.
Okay. No, I mean, that seems,
They have enough money to do that with
Right.
changing it to LED. They think that we've been told that LED is a much more efficient way of going. And that if it's more efficient and it's better, the thing is, that I would say, it would have to cover the football area also, besides
Right.
the softball.
Oh.
Would be- Steve,
Yeah, the electrician said that there are some lights facing the tennis courts right now, but they don't work. So there always were lights facing the other way, but they don't work.
okay. So if they're fixed, then maybe the entire complex, being football and softball, would be lit anyways. That's what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, then my only concern is that I didn't want to put $65,000 worth of donations. That still leaves us football in the dark.
No, that
So
wouldn't-
if that's not the case, then I'm all for it, and that this discussion clarifies my question, so thanks.
No pun intended, right, Jake?
Yeah.
Leave people in the dark. So can somebody just, like, speaking of lights, can somebody just enlighten me? Like, I'm very confused right now, because were we not gonna have lights at all? And because now we have a donor, we're gonna get lights?
No, they're all gonna.
No, it's
gonna fix the old ones. But like,
The old lights are going to be repaired, so we will have lights. But with this donor, now we have the opportunity to improve it by including LED lights. But I think what Jacob mentioned is a very good idea. Let's see what happens with the existing lights. And maybe we can find some kind of a hybrid here where the donor is willing to add just some LEDs so that we can get additional lightage where it's needed. We don't really know at this point, but we will have lights with the existing ones that have been replaced so that they work, or some composite of it where we can get the donor to buy into some LEDs, but we don't know yet until they have seen this price tag here.
And Jim, I'm sure if something else will pop up, and if this gracious donor still has, if we only spend $30,000 of their donation, whatever their donation may be, on lights, I'm sure there will be other ways to enhance the project.
I agree. I'm hoping that they will do what you said, Jake, is that the money would include both the softball field and the area where the practice football field would be. And they might, I'm telling you, they might have enough money to cover it if both are covered. But if it's just to do the softball field, and no, there won't be any lights pointed to the football field, then I think we're in trouble.
Right. Cindy, does that make sense to you now? It took me a second there, but I got it.
Let's go on. Let's go and see what we get with reactions from this money. If they don't blink, I'm not going to not take their money. I'll tell you that.
No, I'm very grateful for this windfall that you have found, Mr. Fassel. I totally appreciate your legwork on this and the generosity of this donor or donors. I just want to make sure I understand, what's going on. That it sounded to me that we weren't getting lights. It wasn't talked about at the last meeting, and because we now have a donor, now we're going to get the lights. And if the lights that are going to be there are just going to be fixed, and are we going to have like some regular lights and some LEDs, or is the football field going to get the better lights? Or, I mean, I guess I'm a little confused. So because we have a donor now, we're going to do, we're going to do good. And so are both fields going to get?
No, it sounds like, and the guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like, and that was where my original confusion was, but it sounds like we were always going to get lights, but the lights were going to be basically bringing the current light system up to snuff, being that it covers the entire complex like it should have. And my thing was, if we're going to get some extra money, why not, instead of just replacing the lights, see if we can kind of augment them and enhance them where we need to, instead of spending it and revamping the whole thing altogether. And maybe after Steve and the guys look into it, it makes sense, fiscally to actually do that. But my own would only suggest that we just, before we just totally upgrade, we take a look and see if we can do it kind of piece by piece.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The other thing is, we're gonna try to get it done while we have the lift there. That everything done, and we can at one time, instead of going back in here like next year after, try to get it done once right, and that's it.
Well, let's go to
Right.
the owner and see his response, and then go to this Kamali group and make sure they're gonna include the football part of it with, because I agree with Jake. What's the sense of doing it if you're not gonna get any better than what you have?
Right.
So,
I agree. So I guess my other question is it the minutes say, or the agenda says it's for lights and scoreboard, so is the amount of money right now a blank item to be filled in?
Yes, hopefully see.
So are we gonna go for the lights and the scoreboard? I mean, are
all
we
we're gonna do.
letting them know?
We're gonna go back to the donor with the quote and see where it leads.
Okay,
Because we gotta go
Okay.
back, we gotta go to Kamali and tell them, if we pay you $65,000, it must include the part where you're illuminating the, part of the field also. Right? Am I right in saying that?
The only hard money that our donor knows about is the cost of a new scoreboard. And in my discussions with their accountant, they seem to be interested in doing the rehab of the two scoreboards, one for Russell and one for Reed too. So that option is on the table also. The price is about the same. What they don't know is the cost of these LEDs, because this quote just came in today. So when we approach them tomorrow, we'll see what their response is and we'll go based upon that. And also, when we find out what the situation on the current lights is and their replacement, then we can come up with an overall package on our best way to proceed here.
So we're gonna go
Okay.
towards the need,
Yeah.
and we'll be back.
oh, okay, I trust you, Mr. Fassel.
Well, I don't have any money. But I'm gonna, he's gonna be honest, they don't have that kind of money. Then we go back to Plan A. And go from there. If he's got that, if he doesn't blink an eye and says, when do I make the checkout? Oh my goodness. Now we have to make sure that we get the electric company to do what they're supposed to do too. They've gotta make.
Okay, so what the donor at this point has remained anonymous, correct? We're not mentioning the donor.
Dick Chetty.
So,
It's a Lions.
It's a Lions Club. It's Dick
oh,
Chetty.
okay, so Kamali,
The Lions Club.
Kamali Electric is just the electricians that are on part of the job?
Yeah.
Okay,
Subcontract.
Okay.
Okay. all right, well, so we've gone to Plan B, I guess, so that's good. I don't know what Plan A is, but we're gonna stay with Plan B for now and keep our fingers crossed. Just work your magic, Mr. Vassal.
It's gonna go. Just as
Okay.
Somali group can't say they got a fat chicken there and limit what they can do. They gotta give us lights for the football practice field also.
I think we just sum it up by saying this is good news. So even at that, it is confusion.
Okay.
What else?
So there should be nothing else, I guess, for this new business. Are we all set with new business? There's really no vote, right? Because Mr. Fastly, you're gonna come back, you and Mr. Tober are going to talk to those people.
I think tonight we should accept their fixing of the new scoreboard at Russell and the scoreboard at Reed. We should say we're for that. And so at least that gets put in.
Depending on funding.
It won't be 4,000 each. And they'll write a check out.
Oh, no, you're talking.
for the
Okay, so is this,
Talking about the scoreboard?
so that, so
Scoreboard.
Kamali is going to fix the both scoreboards? Or are they gonna redo the ones that have been donated by MCLA? Pending the proposal that Lou Moser had sent to us before with that quote that it would be a project total of $3,670.
They'll give us 4,000 for the one in Russell and 4,000 for the one in Reed.
Wow,
I'm confused.
that's way more than what,
Additional news we're hearing.
What's that?
On top
Yeah,
of,
Jim, I'm not sure that that's right. In my discussions with the accountant, I told him the $4,000 for a new scoreboard, and then I mentioned that rehabbing 2 scoreboards, one for Reed and Russell, would be a total of 4,000. So I think that's your error, but
So
we'll go back and we'll have these numbers and see what they say.
Steve, do you have any?
so you're,
we gotta wait
the
on.
one in Russell,
That would be 4,000. And if they do that,
you're gonna fix the other two.
Both of
Just
these,
fix the other 2.
Fix the other 2. for fixing the other 2, no new scoreboards. They're gonna fix the old scoreboards and put them in, one in Russell and one in Reed. But they're gonna fix the one that's been donated by MCLA.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
It's not for new ones. It's just fixing. Okay. So we'll go on that. Okay,
so they're gonna, I'm, okay. So who's gonna fix this? Is it the company that Lou talked to us about? Or is it Kamali that's doing all of this?
No, I think what Lou was talking about, I forget the name of the firm, but he gave us those numbers. I think that's what we're talking about here.
Right. According to the minutes, I'm gonna go back to old business. Lou Mosier said MCLA donated 2 Fair Play scoreboards to Adams. Quotes were obtained for upgrading. Hamden Engineering included upgrade of wiring, LED Bluetooth for $1,835 per board plus $300 for the demo install. If both boards were done, we can save $600 on the project, total of $3,670. Installing the scoreboard on the post at the field is on us. Lou said we already had enough resources, whether through sponsors or volunteers, to help out to get the board up at Reed. So if we're utilizing this information, then the 4,000 that Mr. Fassel has secured from this donor is gonna go to the revamping of the 2 donated scoreboards.
Yes.
yes,
Okay, I'm gonna vote on that right now then, man. So we can put that one to bed. So I guess Lou would have to get that information to you, Robert, right?
Yeah, well, we have, what you have, if I can get the quotes, yes, that's correct. And again, the board, the park commission is an advisory commission. So whatever it votes here will
Yeah.
then be taken into advisement with the town administrator before any commitments are done there. So that would be the process.
Okay, it makes more sense.
Okay, so we can vote on accepting the money from a donor to have somebody do the work. And then that's gonna go to the administrator, the town administrator, to approve it.
Yeah, so my discussions with the town administrator, obviously, in the case of a donation here, that's not gonna be a problem. He's all for that, and I don't see any issues. Again, this is the donors' funds. They'll have the final say
Yeah.
too, and go back and confirm that.
Okay, so then, Lou, since you're on the line, would you be, somehow get that contact information to Robert?
Yeah, Robert is, I trust your contact email is on the town website. I can email you a copy of that quote.
Yes.
Okay, I will send that, if not this evening, first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Perfect. So then is this something that we should use as a vote to, at least we have this as a more concrete issue? Does anybody want to put a motion on accepting the donation from the Lions Club for $4,000 to, based on the Hamden Engineering quote that Lou is going to send to Robert? Or do we have to wait until, can we just make a motion to accept it in general, or does that have to be pretty specific?
Well, it should, what do we have on the agenda for this? I'm just clicking through my phone and trying to pull it back up.
Thank you. So the agenda, there's nothing, so new business was Mike Mucci and Jim Fassel. Jim Fassel had the announcement of the potential donor for Russell Field lights and scoreboard.
So I mean, if it's on the agenda, then we could probably vote on it, right?
And we're recommending, Jay.
You guys have been in this longer than I have, so I'm gonna take your lead. So if we can have a motion, I'll accept a motion.
I'm still trying to look it up. So it does talk in new business that Jim Fassel was bringing
So
up.
it specifically says it says new business. Jim Fassel has announcement on potential donor for Russell Field lights and scoreboard.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we accept. Well, see, we're really not accepting anything, right? Because it's just kind of like in the works. So we'll make a motion that Jim and Robert move forward with the town administrator to explore utilizing the donor, the donations for the scoreboards. I mean, something like that. Sound okay?
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, I like that. That was good. That was good off the cuff, Jake. Thanks.
All right.
And Jim is seconding. So Paul, any discussion? Having no discussion. Paul, what is your vote?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Then Jake and Jim, do you guys have to say yes too? If you made the motions?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Jake is a yes, and Jim Fassel?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor
Aye.
of what Jake
Aye.
said?
We already voted.
Yep. Perfect. Okay, so then we can move to old business. Cindy will touch base with Corey about Stansfields to see if they ever heard anything, from them. So Corey was not able to be at the meeting tonight. He did send me information. He said that DJ Stansfield no longer has the lights. It was a few years back when he had them, and since then he's gotten rid of them. So we had been talking to the discussion was the Stansfields had talked about trying to help fix the lights. I guess they had bulbs or ballasts or something that they were gonna, put in there. So at the last meeting, we discussed Corey checking in with the Stansfields about that. So it's a non-issue for that. And then the next old business, an invitation will go out to the league heads to join our next park meeting to get input on their commitments to help with whatever actions come out of these talks. So I'm sure that not only the league heads, but I would extend an invitation to either the athletic director and or the Hoosick coach, and I guess Mike Mucci again, just so that, you know, he can listen to talks. It was sort of a rushed deal this at the beginning here. So I guess with that, it kind of flows into the next information with Steve Scrocky is going to share his wealth of knowledge on the current conditions and status of the scoreboards, the upcoming schedule, plans and needs, and other relevant topics to help us prepare for the upcoming parks and recreation season, hopefully. So that sort of all goes together based on who we would invite to come to the next meeting. So Steve, would you like to share your wealth of knowledge with us, please?
Where now?
Yes, now you're on now.
Well, I don't even know, are we accepting applications right now?
Yeah, we, you know, because of the COVID situation, it looks like the teams will be playing, so we are.
We can act it.
Yeah, we are taking in the application.
All right.
Of course, Russell Field is also.
It's a waiting game right now.
I'm sorry.
To see if the fields are gonna be ready to be used. I'm sure they will be.
I'm sorry. It's hard to understand you guys. So
The fields are.
at the last meeting,
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the last meeting, we talked about not taking that all of the field use request forms were on hold.
Right.
Did you just both say that the field is gonna be ready?
What, not Russell, no, the other fields, yeah.
Okay,
Russell's not in a question until the fall.
okay. Okay,
Okay.
so
They will.
Lou just put in the chat that ACS had put their field use in. Who's it, will have to put theirs in for Reed. Corey had sent me an email saying he just wants to know when he can put the formal application in for field use at Reed. He said, we will not be having a house league this year. However, we've expanded the Thunder League and are working with North Adams as a feeder to, as well as kids from Adams and the surrounding areas. So we'll probably have a U10 through U18. So the field use is going to be important to us. And of course, that travel season doesn't start until after, typically after July 4th. So that should not run into any interference, although they would probably need time for practicing. But that means everybody's going to be sharing Reed Field. So I guess I'll send an email back to Corey to get his field use request in right away. And then it'll be up to how we've done in the past, having ACS and the Lassie League just talking about a gentleman's agreement about sharing the field. Is that correct?
Yeah. Sounds good. Are you gonna have, is there gonna be fall baseball? I mean, softball?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Or maybe Russell might, who knows, things go good. Maybe play some games there in the fall. Of course, you
Yes.
got.
I mean, that would be really good if that could happen.
Right.
Because, you know, just because it would just free up space. I mean, it didn't seem to be a problem in the fall sharing Reed, the two leagues. And Reed is, I'm sorry, I don't know where to get that chat. So Lou just said, just make sure that the ACS girls softball field request is on file. It was sent in late February, and then they will be doing a spring, summer, fall house league and travel league. So the spring is going to be an issue with
Also,
the ACS. No, because everybody said we're not using Russell at all, right?
correct.
Is that a hard no, where it's really a no, where nobody's using Russell, or are we gonna wait and see?
Sorry.
I'd have to say no.
Yeah, we discussed that the contractor is recommending not to use the field until the fall to let the grass to establish. We want to follow that. Again, we can play it by ear to see how the grass is coming along, and if, later in the spring, it looks like it's gotten there, then we can always change, but that's the recommendation. That's what we're going on right now.
Okay, so then Reed is just gonna be, it's gonna have the JV team. So I'll send a message up to Mike Matera to get a field use for Reed. And it's always been known that the high school has first dibs, and Lou is aware of that. So the JV squad and potentially the varsity, if they need it for practice, I don't believe that they can play there. The field is too small for a varsity squad. I had asked Keith Legess, the building and grounds manager at Huzik, to try to get to this meeting, but they had a basketball game tonight. But I can certainly talk to him just to make sure that the Huzik softball field at the high school is ready and usable for the high school team to be playing at. I know that a couple years ago, if not last year, no, we didn't play last year. So a couple years ago, it was tough because the JV squad was all younger students and they all had to get rides here and there to get to the field and stuff for practice. One year, I know they used the Huzik field for practice. And then after that, they were using Reed Field for practices. But I'll certainly send an invitation to Mike Matera to send out a field use request form for Reed. Steve, do you have any other updates? I assume that they haven't been doing anything on the field because it's snow.
No work has been done yet. Hopefully after this week it'll be melted. Things will get back to normal.
But it's good news that I didn't realize that the seed went in before the snow fell. So that's good news.
Right. That's important. Most of the work is there's odds and ends. Yeah. Of course, so we have to check the clay.
So
Go ahead.
You have to check the what?
The clay, make sure that's good. The dry hill.
Oh, okay.
Oh
yeah. With regard to the whole Russell Field project, I know that we were doing it in different phases. I don't know when we would be talking about the phase where McCann was gonna potentially come and fix the build up the clubhouse. Has that been talked about at all in any of the meetings you've had with?
What are they gonna do there? It's their first item.
We haven't talked about that in a long time, so I don't know where that is right now. We haven't discussed that in a long time, so.
Oh, you mean a new building?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a question. Ran out of money for it.
Look, that in the beginning of all of this, we had talked about it being in a different phase and potentially trying to get McCann to build up because we couldn't really touch we couldn't really do a new building because of the facilities, the bathroom facilities being, on that level, and you don't want to disturb all of that. So there was talk of that, but obviously that'll be for another meeting, another discussion. But I didn't know if you had any other information, Steve, to prepare us for the upcoming season for both fields. Well, I guess for all three fields.
Again, with the weather and everything. Got a better hold on things after the snow melts and see what's going on.
So being that it's March, I'll just let Mike know that he should at least be getting his field use in for baseball, softball,
Oh, for the high
and then,
school?
yeah, because
Yeah.
they'll need it for Reed and for Renfrew,
Right, yeah,
because it'll be for the night games. And then I don't know if they'll come to us about lacrosse. I don't know where you're at with, I know that there was seating and drilling and all of that that you do every year for that,
Are you getting down
for
to
Renfrew. Yeah.
No, that's out of the question. They play soccer there too, don't they? They have some light games.
Yeah, well, it's not soccer season, so
I know
it would
that.
be
Okay.
lacrosse.
And the field's gonna get enough use as it is football.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'll just tell him that he needs to get that in, and it can be addressed because it goes to you first anyway, before it comes to us.
yeah.
But when it gets on, when they put it in and when it gets on, will Robert or Michelle, will you extend the invitation to them to let them know to come to that meeting?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have on the agenda. So if there's no other discussion about Russell Field or what was on the agenda, we can get to for the good of the order. Mr. Fassel, would you like to start?
I think the most important thing is the arrival of Marilyn's replacement, Michelle. And if we haven't announced her presence, she'll make it on her own, but I'm very happy to have her with us and know she will add to our board.
Here, here.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
That's it.
Okay, how about Paul? You have anything good to the order?
I would just like to second Coach Fassel's introduction of Michelle, and glad to have you aboard.
Thank you very much.
Jake?
Oh, welcome, Michelle. It's nice to have you. And that's all I have.
Yes, I would also like to welcome you, Michelle. No initiation tonight for you, though. We'll wait till we can all get together in person. Maybe that will be soon enough. I'm not sure what the codes are for having the rest of us come in there. But I also want to extend my deepest gratitude for the Mr. Fassel for doing the legwork to get that nice windfall in. And please extend my appreciation and gratitude to Mr. Jetty and his group. And I look forward to hearing some more good news at our next meeting, which will be it should be the second Monday, so April 12th, Monday, April 12th. 6 o'clock. I assume we're gonna have to still be via Zoom. I may or may not be able to attend that meeting, unfortunately. I may be out of town that week, so if you are all fine with me not being at the meeting, I'm okay with that unless you want to move it to another week.
I think we should make it another week so that you can be part of it. And not in part of it, but leading what's going on. So if we went another week,
Would it be Monday the 7th, or would it be Monday the 19th?
yes, I think we should do that. Is that okay with you, Paul? Yeah.
Works for me.
Okay, so we'll make it for Monday, April 19th, 6 o'clock. And motion to adjourn,
I'll second it.
Paul, second by Jim Fassel. All in favor, Jake,
Aye.
Paul, Jim,
Aye.
and Cindy, aye. Thanks again for being here, Michelle, for your first meeting, and we look forward to more meetings with you. And thank you, Robert, for being here and helping her along as well.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Steve, for your words of wisdom.
Good morning. You're welcome. Never.
Shut the door, Stevie.
Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I only need 38 more.